The Tibetan parliament in exile is reeling from one of its worst crises in history. A divide between the newly elected members of the 17th Tibetan parliament in exile over the oath-taking ceremony began earlier this month. A group of 21 MPs took oath of office from the pro-tem speaker Penpa Tsering, who was sworn in by the Chief Justice Commissioner Sonamnubu Thakpo, one of the three judges voted out by the previous parliament. The other 22 MPs in attendance took oath of office in front of the Tibetan Charter and a portrait of His Holiness the Dalai Lama in an apparent show of their non-recognition of the pro-tem speaker and the judges of the Tibetan Supreme Justice Commission. The bone of contention to the whole issue stems over the legitimacy of the three judges. While one side say that the resumption of duty by the three judges is unlawful and in effect the pro-tem speaker, the other side say that the resolution that voted out the judges is null and void as due process was not followed. The deadlock has meant that the House is unable to appoint a Speaker, a Deputy Speaker, as well as the Standing Committee of the House. The standstill between the two sides has given way to a series of blockages administratively. We sat down with Sikyong Penpa Tsering and asked him what challenges his administration is facing and might face due to the ongoing constitutional crisis.
First, all of us are very concerned about the continuing constitutional crisis that needs to be resolved as soon as possible. But it's not in the hands of the executive or within the mandates of the executive to interfere in the legislative work. And therefore, so far, we have been watching the situation. But since we don't have the mandate, we are not interfering. We are looking forward to this issue being resolved within the parliamentarians themselves. Now, as far as the difficulties or the obstacles or the challenges that the executive might face, one is definitely about the interim proposals that keep coming in. There are two levels to that. Under our rules, Article 7(5) of the budget rules, if there is a new grant or a donation, then we have to seek the sanction of to receive as well as to use that fund within the year. That there do not seem to be too much of a problem, because once you submit your budget to the Parliament Secretariat, if you don't receive an acknowledgement or an approval within 10 working days, then it shall be considered as sanctioned. So there we don't have a problem. But with the ongoing projects, if there is shortage of fund which needs to be replenished by extra grants, then there is no limit or number of days as mentioned in Article 7(5). So this is Article 7(8). So there we might have little problem. But since we are just into the first quarter of the financial year, I do not see too much of an immediate problem. But eventually, if this crisis goes on for some more months or beyond September, there could be little problems. But the real problem could emerge only if there is no solution till next year. Then there is no parliament to pass budgets, and then the government will have to shut down from March 31st of next year. But I think, as I keep mentioning, whether it's in a individual person's life or a family life or a societal life or an organization or an administration like ours, there will be challenges. Even though countries with 400 years of democratic tradition still face challenges, we are only 50, 60 years into this. all thanks to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And our article has only about 115 provisions. Our charter has only about 115 articles, and out of that, some have been withdrawn. So it's just little over 100 articles. Independent countries have thick books when they write constitutions. So it's evident that everything cannot be explained in our charter. So there will be more challenges in the future also. But we are looking forward to see now how to move forward. So the issue here is whether the members will agree to take their oath as per the charter, join the parliament. One thing that the administration can assure is to support the parliament in whatever initiative they take, particularly in terms of forming an expert committee or a parliamentary committee, whichever is more convenient for the parliament, to be convened, to be formed. Then this committee can look into avoiding all the difficulties, challenges that we faced in the last few months. That is the only solution that I see moving forward, because it doesn't make sense to go back and argue about who said what. So that complicates issues. So as far as I'm concerned, the less said, the better. Action is more important. We are all elected to accomplish our job that is assigned by the Charter for our people, and that should be our responsibility. So as far as Kashag is concerned, we are watching the situation very carefully. So far, no one has approached us directly, and in or under a future circumstance whereby the involvement of the Kashag is necessitated by all the members of parliament, then Kashag will be in a position to look into the matter and take, as we mentioned during our elections, equitable justice. So we will resort to equitable justice to resolve this issue if it comes to that. But otherwise, we would expect the members to be reasonable, follow the rules, and move on. The other challenge, of course, is when the parliament cannot meet, then we cannot form the cabinet also. So that I will have to bear the burden of carrying out the duties of all the officers till such a time the cabinet, but it's not a major issue. This is something we can handle.
The president also said that he will not let budgetary challenges deter his pandemic response and relief efforts.
Now, regarding the question of issues with budget issues to address the COVID pandemic, so far our priorities have been inoculation, which is happening at a very good rate compared to many other communities. And thanks largely to the initiatives and the large-heartedness of the monastic institutions, philanthropic individuals and organizations, and within the Tibetan community also there are a number of non-governmental organizations who have supported that, individuals also. And from the Central Tibetan administration side, we have been pushing every segment, having meeting with all the representatives in India and Nepal. What we found was the deficiency or our community does not give too much importance to statistics. So this pandemic showed us that statistics is very important. If we have a central database under such circumstances, then the local authorities can give us information as to how many people have been inoculated. Then by natural deduction, we will get the number of how many people have not been inoculated. So to get such data, it takes about 1 week these days. So once we systemize this, in the future, we should not have such problems. Even now, with budget, as I mentioned before, the new funds that we are, there is little fund about 10 million rupees for equipment and other items, and 2.5 million rupees for inoculation, for vaccination. And Delek Hospital is also kind enough to take care of the responsibility of inoculating Tibetans in and around Dharamsala, and so also other organizations. So there's as much as possible from the CTA's side, our instruction is as fast as possible from wherever it's available, whether we have to pay or we get it free from the Indian government. So that has been going on, and we are quite satisfied. But with the budget, again, if it comes under Article 7.5, then there should not be a problem. If it comes under already sanctioned amount for which we need replenishment, then it's a problem. But we can, if the crisis continues for some more time, then we'll have to find ways to avoid this challenge by rerouting money through organizations that have registered to FCRA.
While the administration hopes for a solution amongst the parliamentarians soon, the president was clear on one front: the rule of law must be upheld at all cost.
Under democratic polity, rule of law is the most important component. If there is no respect for rule of law, and if you start disregarding rules that are clearly mentioned in the Charter, then all rules and regulations starts to crumble. And when that happens, then we no longer have democracy. We no longer will be able to take forward the process that His Holiness began in 1960. So all the efforts of His Holiness the Dalai Lama over the last 50 years will go down the drain. So we have to be, irrespective of differences of opinion, it is very, very important. It's almost to the level of sanctity that we have to preserve rule of law. It should not be based on strength of emotions. It has to be based on reason, and that is very, very important. And we decide to stick by this decision to follow the rules.